Coming to you from the Illegal Shift Studio, it is another episode of the One More and I'm Out of Here podcast. Probably not my best beer opening, but
you struggle.
Hi, everyone.
Struggle with that one a little bit.
I'm Dan Carroll. If I may take a point of personal privilege to start off the show,
please do, sir.
We lost a good man today. Phone call came in about 2:30 this morning from my niece, Christine, and my wife always keeps her phone next to the bed, and she answered right away, and I could hear Christine over the phone saying that Uncle Tommy is gone. Tommy is gone. So my brother-in-law, Tommy Schroeder,
holy shit,
had a heart attack this morning about a little after 2 o'clock this morning. They said that I guess he got up to go to the bathroom. My niece Christine and my niece Lily were at the house. They heard him fall and called 911 right away. And I guess he was actually talking to the paramedics when they got there. But he died right there in the house. Didn't make it to the ambulance. Didn't make it to the hospital. And
you couldn't have told me this right before we started.
No, I wanted to get your reaction, and I wanted to ask. I mean, you've been on, you've probably met my brother-in-law Tommy a few times.
Yes, yeah, I definitely have.
Good guy, great guy to have a beer with. Good golfer, really good bowler. He was a postal carrier for years and years and years up in Mount Washington.
Holy shit!
Just a year or two away from retirement, and I mean, you've been on more scenes like that than you can count, but I was a little surprised that he was responding to the medics when they got there, but I guess he had another attack or seizure, and they I was told they worked on him for about 35, 40 minutes, and they couldn't get anything done. How unusual is that though, when you respond to a scene like that and you're actually talking, the victim's actually responding to you, that you're not able to get them to the hospital? It seems like that probably doesn't happen all that often.
Well, what a way to start the show. I hate that for you. I did not know that before we started.
Tommy,
good
guy. Tommy Schroeder.
Tommy was a great dude. But to give a little background, I mean, just the way we work things. Like I dealt with that yesterday, but it was a little bit different situation. Was unconscious before we got there, but to not go too personal, but somebody that we know was talking and ended up going unconscious, and then resuscitation efforts start. So I can't remember where Tommy lived at. I can't remember
Mount Washington.
So our protocol here is once you become unresponsive and then pulseless and apneic, our protocol is you work them for 30 minutes. And if you don't get a rhythm change, a heart rhythm change, you work them on the scene. If you get a rhythm change, and you're throwing them in the bus and you're booking feet to the hospital. So normal to just work them for that long. If there's no change, that's the way our protocol is written. Yeah, I mean that's a shit part is where you're responding or talking, and then all of a sudden, then you go down. All you can do is get your airway, get your get the heart monitor on, and do all the things. And I have no doubt I have very, very big faith in the city of Cincinnati Fire Department that we're right next to, and we know a lot of guys that work there, and I'm sure they did everything at the
absolutely. I have no question about that.
Holy shit.
But it's just, when I was just a little bit shocked to hear that he was, communicating with the first responders, and then I guess crashed right after that. So that was very shocking news this morning. So we didn't get a lot of sleep last night, and my wife's been dealing with this all day. I had to go on the radio.
We could have canceled this.
No, that's all right. Tommy wouldn't. That's not the kind of guy he was. I mean, he was not he's an elder high school guy, lifetime West Sider, moved over here late '80s to here to the East Side, and
Well, he became a good guy.
well, he was always. I like West Side guys. You know a lot of West Side
I'm
guys.
kidding. You got to throw some levity into it,
know,
buddy.
But no, he would say, no, don't not do your podcast because of me. That's the kind of guy he was, and I would say the same thing to him. If it was me who keeled over, I would say, don't stop your regular activities just for me.
Oh, I wouldn't.
So
I wouldn't.
Well, I know I wouldn't expect you to.
No, it's so that's very unfortunate, and obviously, mine and Jill's hearts go out to yours and Paula's family, and everybody. And I've met Tommy, I think maybe 2 or 3 times just in passing.
Yeah,
but I do remember him. And shit, you could have told me that before we started.
Yeah, I mean, we were just talking. We were just talking less than 2 weeks ago about him coming up to Garage Golf and playing Garage Golf with us, and he was very excited to do that. He hadn't played indoor golf yet, and I told him about the group we have on Sundays, and he was really looking forward to doing that. What do you want, Andrew?
Dude, I'm sorry. I mean, it's terrible.
Yeah, it's a shock, and got to only say just turned 60 years old. Not that we just had his birthday party not that long ago.
Yeah, I was going to ask, hey, 60? 60?
Yeah. So kind of a bummer.
Could have given Kiefer a little bit of a heads up before you did that live on the air, but
well, guess what? This is what we call.
This is how we roll on the One More and I'm Out of Here podcast.
One more and I'm out of here.
I'm not holding anything back,
I love
it. And man,
the fact that I'm being authentic with the with the viewers and the listeners.
Well, listen, man, it's tough, and that is a shock to your family, and I'm very sorry you're going to have to, that for your losses. And I was on the YouTube, and I was just checking the comments. So hey, listen, everyone is saying the same, how they're very sorry for your loss, and I just it's tough, man. And here you are, just right back on the horse. Because you got to live your life, and you said, your brother-in-law wouldn't want you to miss the show, so or what you do. So yeah, man, it's tough, and wow, life is fleeting. You gotta,
yeah.
Hey, pull that fucking mic away from your face a little bit.
You pull your mic away from your face a little bit. How's that?
I'll adjust it on my end, but you were.
Well, so we had that situation this morning, and then a couple of days ago, we had a situation where first responders show up at the home of Gene Hackman, and I mean, obviously not the same situation, but this is an area where Jason has expertise and has been on scenes like this before. I think the thing that I find interesting is that they are saying that the bodies were mummified, and they're out in New Mexico. High altitude, dry air. So I guess those are the good conditions for something like that to take place. But, as you read the reports on this, and I don't know that I've ever seen anyone describe it as a preliminary autopsy, unless they're simply talking about their observations of the body where they didn't see any obvious signs of trauma, no wounds, anything like that to suggest there was any sort of foul play.
So when I first saw it and first read it, I'm like, okay, Gene Hackman's 95. Okay. It's probably natural, whatever. And then, obviously then we find out his wife was passed as well. And then a dog.
And the dog.
So I immediately, my fireman mind goes into, okay, they got carbon monoxide poisoning, which would make sense. And then, as you're reading, and it's the media, it's the mainstream media. And so until the autopsy comes back, we're not going to know shit. But when they start throwing out, well, it's suspicious. I read one report, only one, where it was potential forced entry into the house. I only saw that in one place, but, I try to fact check 3 or 4 different sources. But when they said that her face, like Betsy's face was bloated and her hands were mummified, her feet were mummified, obviously she had been down for a while. I didn't hear much about Gene, as far as the condition or whatever. But I was watching an interview with somebody on Fox News who was a medical examiner and said, New Mexico, to your point, it's arid. They're coming out of winter, so the air's different. I'm not super versed in all of that. So the hands being mummified, but I mean, they had to have been down. My guess, I mean, they had to have been down at least 3 days, at least.
Oh yeah, maybe more than that.
And that's what I'm saying. At least. I mean, I can't speak as an expertise on it, but you had 2 dogs alive running outside, running around the property, from what I've read, and then the 1 dog that passed away. So it's very strange to me, but the fire department had said that there was no CO in the house at the time when they were there. There was no signs of a gas leak. So the autopsy will find if there was CO in their, in their blood. If it's soon enough, though. And again, I'm not an expert, but all of that stuff starts to kind of just
get out of your system.
Yeah, it just kind of goes away. Like as the decomposition happens. As gross as it is, I mean, but that's reality. I mean, I've walked into houses where somebody's been dead for 2 weeks, and you can't. I don't know how those people, those angels down at the coroner's office that do that stuff. I have no idea how they do it, but I'm curious though, because there are some just some weird things. Now, I'm not going to speculate, off of what you're reading off Fox or, MSNBC, any of them. Once the autopsy comes out and they release it, then we'll definitely know. But, there was, no bullet holes, no trauma, anything else. But, they said there was pills that were laying by her. There was a space heater that was laying by her. I don't know whether the space heater was on. I've never heard whether it was on or off, when the first officer got in there. So there's a lot of details that have to be put together. But I wanted to make this and obviously we've got big news that happened today that we're obviously going to hit, but I wanted to make this because Gene Hackman, that's an icon. Yeah. Even though he was old and hadn't been in a movie in forever, everybody of a decent age knows a Gene Hackman movie.
Yeah. Oh, when I remember being a little kid, and back when Andrew and I were little kids, the newspapers. I don't know if they had newspapers in Greece or not, but the newspapers would have advertisements for the movie.
They did, but they were printed on goat skin. So yeah. and the goat was alive. So every day you get a different goat.
Here comes the movie goat.
But done. Nice dad joke.
The newspapers would always have advertisements in it for what was playing at the movie theaters. And they had great illustrations and drawings, and you see what movie theaters have. And then on Fridays, the really big ads would come out, and you'd like, oh, it's so cool, and look at see what movies are playing.
This is coming out Friday.
And I was a kid. I was just a wee lad when The French Connection came out, and there was no way my parents were taking me to see that movie, but that has turned out to be one of my all-time favorite movies. And then when I was 10 years old, The Poseidon Adventure came out, and my mom decided, I'm going to take you to see The Poseidon Adventure because the trailers were on TV, and I was like, oh, I want to see the giant wave knock the ship over, right, and all that.
Here, real quick, for anybody that's in the chats, and it's already kind of starting to happen, throw out your favorite Gene Hackman movie in the comments,
that's a good
please.
one. I like that. But
I'm going to ask you to.
And we grew up in Marymount, so we went to the Marymount Theater a lot back then for the Saturday matinees and that kind of stuff. But this movie was playing at the Oakley Theater, and back then the Oakley Theater, I mean, had the giant neon sign out front. It went it looked like it went straight up. I'm a little kid, you walk in and I say Oakley Theater. I'm like, oh my God, this is the big time.
I have arrived.
But I mean, we went and we watched the Poseidon Adventure there on the big screen, and it was Gene Hackman was in it, and it's still one of my favorite movies. And if it's on, I'll stop and watch it. But
I haven't seen that one in ever.
Yeah, Poseidon Adventure was great.
Poseidon Adventure was that was the day, that was the days, and boy, you talk about bringing back memories. That that was the movie back in the day, and they kept showing the clip of the guy falling and into the skylight that was now the floor, or the light fixture, but that was it, and that began the series of I think it was Poseidon Adventure, Towering Inferno.
That was the big blockbuster disaster movies.
Yeah, it was the disaster movies. That's a trip. Way to go, Dan.
Well, he had another movie like that called Uncommon Valor, and if you remember that one, he's a guy whose son was serving in Vietnam, got captured in Vietnam, and so the war is over. This is a decade after the war is over, and his son is still being held prisoner in Vietnam. So Gene Hackman manages to recruit some of his son's buddies and some ex-Vietnam guys, and launches this campaign to get these insert these guys into Vietnam, attack the prison, release the son, bring these prisoners home.
I just came up with another.
And that started a whole genre of knockoff movies like that. About how many movies were like that back in that time period? You got a group of guys, they're going into Vietnam, they're going to get the prisoners out. Rocky Balboa, made movies like that. There was a Chuck Norris movie like that. There's probably 20 movies that had that same kind of theme.
He said Rocky Balboa, Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah, that's what I meant to say.
Rambo,
who
Missing in Action.
So it was the same kind of thing, but that was a really good movie. And then there's a movie Gene Hackman made that a lot of people haven't seen called Bat 21.
Yes, I was just going to fucking say that.
Yeah, Bat 21, really with, underrated.
Danny Glover.
Really underrated, really good. He's a pilot, and in Vietnam, shot down behind enemy lines.
I'm watching that tonight.
And then he's got to communicate to his people how he's going to get to an extraction point. But he knows the enemy is listening, so he comes up with an ingenious way to tell these guys how he's going to move around and get from point A to point B. It was a really, really, I just think a really underrated movie.
When I read
a movie that's
when
really
I literally
good.
just said, "Oh, I just thought of it," that was the one I thought of because I remember watching that with my dad.
Yeah, Bat 21, really good.
Well,
how about that, Andrew? You ever
times,
seen that one?
I have not seen that one, but I mean, a lot of times actors are subject to the writers as far as obviously if the film is good or not. But I think probably the thing I liked most about him, and this is going to sound funny, one of the favorite movies that he had a very small part in, but it just had me laughing to no end, was Young Frankenstein. I mean, he did have a very small part in Young Frankenstein, but it was
Falk brought that one up. Yep.
Yeah, it was hilarious. But I mean, The Unforgiven, that was a good flick. He did play Lex Luthor in the original Superman flicks back in the day. He was just a really good actor. And obviously, The French Connection was probably maybe his breakout movie, I guess you might call it, because that was when he was in his probably prime. And that was
Popeye Doyle, man. He got an Academy Award for that.
Yeah, that was a really good flick too. But there are a lot of these movies, like you said, the Bat 21. He's an actor from a bygone era, so no one's really gonna pay attention to it. But speaking about his situation, it's just things happen. Nobody lasts forever, but it is an odd situation. And hopefully they can get to the bottom of it, like you're talking about decomposition and mummification, and can they finally how I was going to ask, and you guys kind of went on, how long does it take before someone or before authorities will conduct a wellness check? Like, what's the usual, because that's what found it, was a wellness check. So I don't know if that's he was a pretty private person, I imagine.
Well, I thought it was someone that was coming to do some maintenance around the house, like a landscape.
No, they said maybe he's the one that called for the wellness check, though. But I heard that it was the authorities showed up as a request for a wellness check. So someone, either he was missing for a while.
That guy was the guy that made the 911 call. I listened to the 911 call, and I don't know if John's still in the chats or not. Our buddy John Bates was in the chats. He may not be anymore, but I listened to the 911 call, and it was very frustrating for me. And different regions are different in how they do things, but hanging out with John on a weekly basis during an illegal shift, I feel like John would be very, precise in asking the questions, but the questions this guy was asking in New Mexico was just, they were so dumb. The guy's telling him, hey, look, I'm seeing somebody that is not responsive. And then, are they awake? No, I need you to get people here. Like, and again, I'm on the other side of the dispatch side. So I'm like, all right, what am I walking into? This guy's trying to get information. I get it. I'm not trying to downplay him, but like the questions he was asking, I was getting frustrated. But a wellness check, I mean, it depends. Like, I don't know how close his kids were, to the location, for one, whether they stopped in for a Sunday dinner or whether they didn't, or whether they were across the country, whether they had friends, who knows? But obviously nobody had checked in on him. And I'm just gonna throw it out, just blanket a couple days.
I'd probably say weeks. I mean, I'd probably say weeks, maybe, because I mean, it's New Mexico. It's not like we're talking about the Antarctic, so it's not like mummification is going to set in a matter of minutes or days. I would. The way
the media is playing it, though, and I've got this video. I'm going to play this, and we don't have to do the whole show on this, but because we got a lot of other shit going.
No, I've been chomping at the bit to get to some of this other information. That's why
I know.
And honestly, I got to be honest with you. I've been out of my skin on social media today because I was.
Well, don't make me mute you. Shut up for a second.
Go ahead.
All I can say is they have been deceased for quite a while. That's a determination that's better suited for OMI and the experts, but it sounds like they had been deceased for a while, and I don't want to take a guess in reference to how long that was. There was no immediate sign of foul play. Haven't ruled that out yet. This is an investigation, so we're keeping everything on the table. I think the autopsy is going to tell us a lot, and any evidence that we collect, but I haven't ruled any of that out yet. There was no indication of anything that was missing from the home or disturbed. That would be indication that there was a crime that had occurred. There was no indication of that.
So that comes out, but then I read one, like I said earlier, like one story where there was potentially forced entry. That could have been from the fucking fire department. I mean, who knows?
Yeah.
So, I mean, once the autopsy comes out, that's going to tell us, most of it. It's just very odd. You've got one person in one room, another person in another room, and a dog. And then you've got two dogs running rampant, around the property. So I immediately, like I said, went CO, gas leak, something. But, the fire department, but I mean, who knows whether I don't know what appliances they had in their house to.
I'd also guess there's surveillance cameras at that house too. I mean, it's totally out of the blue. I'm just guessing. If they recorded for more than 24 hours or they loop after 24 hours, there won't be anything there. But,
right.
We'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens. And like you said, we have a boatload of news to get to today.
Hold on. Can I say my goddamn movie, Andrew?
Oh, I didn't. I'm sorry, Jason.
Jesus.
I thought we named it already. I thought you said.
I can remove you from the stage whenever I want. You realize that, right?
I'm gone.
I can talk about Gene Hackman the whole hour if you like.
No, and Joe brought up a couple of them, but Bonnie and Clyde, one of my favorites. One of my favorites with him is Crimson Tide.
That was good. Yeah. He was good, yeah.
And then Mississippi Burning.
Mississippi Burning, really good.
I thought he did an excellent job.
And the thing about Gene Hackman, I mean, he was really good at playing the bad guy too. And I remember seeing there's a couple of movies out there, and one is called Absolute Power.
I do like Hoosiers, Michael Henderson. I do like Hoosiers as well.
That's a Clint Eastwood movie. And Gene Hackman is a really, really, really bad guy in that movie. And he's so convincing, so good at it. And then one other movie that I like from him a lot is Enemy of the State.
Yes.
That was a good flick.
With Will Smith. And he sort of, I think it's actually a revisal of the role he had in The Conversation. And if you've ever seen
that was a really good flick too.
You talk about a descent into madness. I mean, that's Gene. The scene where he goes into that room and he tears that room apart because he thinks they're listening to him.
Yeah, I
mean, it's absolute classic, man. So, God rest
Rest in peace.
Hackman.
Gene Hackman and his wife, Betsy. R.I.P. And the dog. I don't know what the dog's name was.
And the dog, Rover.
Rover. Red Rover. Will Andrew come over? All right, so I had a whole lineup.
Got brushed. It all got brushed.
And guess what? This is why I love doing podcasts, though, and doing podcasts a little bit later in the day, because you get all kinds of shit. So let me get this fucking dialed up. I'm gonna play a couple minutes of this, and then Andrew and Dan, you guys can fucking jump on it, and I'll jump on it. But there is nothing. All right, so before I'm gonna set it up. Can you imagine going to somebody's house?
I was going to do exactly where you're going right now. Where you are going right now was like the first thing I said.
Can you imagine going to somebody's house and saying, you know what? I don't really like the amount of toilet paper that you gave me to wipe my ass.
Well, it's 2-ply. I want
and
triple
also, ply. Yeah, it's John Wayne paper for one. And two, I asked you for more, and the guy that owned the house before, when I used to come over here and squat, he gave me a lot. But you're not giving me anything. What would you say to that motherfucker?
Andrew, you want to take that one?
Well, I think what I would say to him was very close to what was said to him today, which was a very we don't know what was said after that meeting, but it was something along "get the fuck out." I mean, it was pretty close to "don't let the door hit you in the ass." And you mentioned I didn't do the toilet paper analogy, although I do like it, but it's almost like it's almost to me it was akin to, have you ever had someone, and this is maybe more relatable because I don't know that anyone's had someone complain about toilet paper, but have you ever invited somebody over for dinner or a meal, and either they couldn't eat anything because of an allergy, or they didn't like, I don't like Brussels sprouts, and end up didn't eat anything and left, and it was kind of just a failure of your hospitality. I mean, that's a little more relatable, not as impactful maybe, but I just was like, you are a guest in the people's house. Now, if you look at social media, and I'm sure everyone's all over social media, it's amazing to me how the never Trumpers, Republicans such as John Kasich, who has waded into this discussion in Ohio.
What did Kasich? Tell me what Kasich said.
Kasich was aghast at the treatment that Zelensky received from Trump and J.D. Vance.
Well, is he auditioning and get back on CNN?
Kasich's a fucking has-been. I have a question, though. In the comments, David J. said the Ukraine MP, within 30 minutes after Vladimir left the White House, a vote of impeachment was called for. What's Ukraine MP? What's that mean? Did somebody educate me?
It's like it's probably similar to a prime minister. I did see that story. Even though it's MP in front of it, but he has called for impeachment proceedings against.
Okay.
So it does say Ukraine MP, and I cannot say his name. Dubinsky has called for initiate impeachment proceedings against Zelensky. Now, here's the deal.
Zelensky. I was like, how in the fuck are you calling it? What?
No. Here's the deal. I think if you look at the ambassador, the Ukrainian ambassador,
let me play this video.
Yeah,
let me play this video first.
Yeah. And this is all new. This is all new because we didn't. This is all news catching up to the show.
And I think we've done a pretty good job so far. Well, I think I did. We'll see if I fuck it up here in a second.
It's early.
I'm talking about the kind of diplomacy that's going to end the destruction of your country.
Yes, but if you
Mr. President, with respect, I think it's disrespectful for you to come into the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the American media. Right now, you guys are going around and forcing conscripts to the front lines because you have manpower problems. You should be thanking the president for trying to bring it into this conflict.
Have you ever been to Ukraine that you say what problems we have?
I have been to.
Come once.
I've actually watched and seen the stories, and I know what happens is you bring them on a propaganda tour, Mr. President. Do you disagree that you've had problems bringing people into your military? And do you think that it's respectful to come to the Oval Office of the United States of America and attack the administration that is trying trying to prevent the destruction of your country?
A lot of questions. Let's start from the beginning.
Sure.
First of all, during the war, everybody has problems. Even you, but you have nice ocean and don't feel now, but you will feel it in the future. God bless.
You don't know that.
God bless.
You don't
God
know
bless.
that.
You will not have a war.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because
I'm
you're in no
answering on
position to
this question.
dictate that.
That's exactly what you're doing.
You're in no position to dictate what we're going to feel.
You
We're going to feel very
you will
good.
feel influence.
We're going to feel very
I'm
good and
telling
very
you,
strong.
You will feel influence.
You're right now not in a very good position. You've allowed
From the
yourself
very-
to be in a
from
very
the very
bad position,
beginning
and he
of the
happens
war.
to be right about
From
it.
the very beginning of the war.
You're not in a
Mr.
good
Brown,
position.
I was
You don't
upset.
have the cards right now.
a minute
us,
to
you
play a
start
little.
I'm
having
not playing cards.
Right now, you don't.
I'm very
You're playing
serious,
cards.
Mr. President.
You're
I'm
playing
very
cards.
serious.
You're
I'm
gambling
the
with the
president
lives
in
of
war.
millions of people.
You think-
You're gambling with World War III.
What do you
You're
think about-
gambling with
what do you
World
think
War
about-
III. And what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country.
I'm
That's
with
back
all
to
respect to
you.
you.
Far more than a lot of people said
Very
they
respect.
should have.
Have you said thank you once this
A lot
entire
of
meeting?
times.
No, in this
Even
entire meeting,
today.
have you said thank
Even
you?
today.
You went to Pennsylvania and campaigned for the opposition in October. Offer some words of appreciation for the United States of America and the president who's trying to save your country.
Please, you think that if you will speak very loudly about the war, you
He's
can...
not speaking loudly. He's not
Yeah.
speaking loudly. Your country
I don't
is
let
in
him
big
normally
trouble.
go this long, but this is
No,
worth it.
You've done a lot of talking. Your country is in big trouble.
I know.
You're not
I
winning.
know.
You're not winning this. You have a damn good chance of
we are
coming out
staying-
okay because of
Mr.
us.
President, we are staying in our country, staying strong from the very beginning of the war. We've been alone, and we are thankful. I said thanks
You haven't
in
been
this
alone.
cabinet.
You
and
haven't
not
been
only
allowed.
in this
We
cabinet.
gave you, through
I
this
said
stupid
thank-
president, $350 billion.
You voted
We gave
for
you
your
military equipment,
You
and you
voted
met
for
up
your
brave,
president.
but they had to use our military.
What about
If you didn't have
You
our
invited
military
me.
equipment,
You invited
if
me
you
to
didn't have our military
Fucking arm
equipment,
checks it.
this war would have been over in 2 weeks.
in 3
okay?
days. I heard it from Putin. In 3 days. This is something
Maybe
new.
less.
In 2 weeks. Of course, yes.
It's going to be a very hard thing to do business like this. I
Again,
tell you.
just say thank you.
I said a lot of
Except
times
that there-
thank you
except
to
that-
American people.
Except that there are disagreements, and let's go litigate those disagreements rather than trying to fight it out in the American media when you're wrong. We know that you're wrong.
But you see, I think it's good for the American people to see what's going on.
I understand, sir.
I think it's
I
very
understand.
important. That's why I kept this going so long. You have to be thankful. You don't have the
I'm
cards.
thankful.
You're buried there. Your people are dying.
I can tell you
You're
again,
running
I
low
know.
on soldiers.
Don't-
Listen,
don't, please,
you're running
Mr.
low on
President.
soldiers. It would be a damn good thing.
Mr.
And then you tell us,
So everybody can go watch the rest of that. But my take on that real quick was I love the fact that, and I told Dan this before we started. You had JD Vance as like the little puppy Doberman kind of going at him. Trump's the Rottweiler sitting there watching. Okay, cool. I'm going to let him go at it for a minute. And all of a sudden, no, you've talked enough. I'm done fucking dealing with you. We're not going to do business this way. I mean, what a fucking joke. Absolute fucking joke.
Let me say this, and I've been losing my shit all day over this because I saw it happen live in my head. Well, but thank you. And I thought about you too. Cue the music. But I just lost it because I'm like, look, Zelensky overplayed his hand here. I feel greatly. Now, the anti-Trump people, the never Trumpers are going to say, oh my God, Trump treated him disrespectfully. Look, when Zelensky got out of the limousine, Trump had a little clip or a little lib that he said, oh, he dressed up. Personally, I'm tired of the Richard Simmons wannabe look that he shows up everywhere in sweatpants and, you know, his little shirt, tight shirt. And I find it, you're disrespectful a little bit. You're going to the White House. Now, I realize that your country's in a state of war, and I get that, but you're not in your country anymore. You probably could wear a jacket and a tie. You're going to meet with the President of the United States.
He can still wear that in his country because he's not at war.
That's right. But well, that's true. But he has to. You understand? He is a performer.
It's an image.
He is a performer.
He's
He
a comedian.
comes from. He is a. Well, that's true. But he also is a performer. He was on TV. So he's doing a show. I'm not saying he doesn't care about his country. My opinion on all this is it's terrible. You know what? Honestly, it's terrible that it happened, that Zelensky chose to come in there with this. Now, you remember the clip from the movie, oh shit, what was the movie where it was Christopher Walken, and he's like, your tone is all wrong. You know, I don't like your tone. I think that was, I can't remember the movie.
It's almost any Christopher Walken movie.
No, but he's like, your tone, the way Walken speaks.
Yeah.
It was Zelensky went in there with the wrong shitty attitude, like he was to be messed with. They were there for a mineral rights deal, okay? Mm-hmm. But Zelensky wanted to have this little discussion, and JD Vance was spot on. You could say, hey, you know what? We're going to have some disagreements. We're going to sit there and we appreciate all the support the United States has given us. $350 billion. And, we wouldn't be able to be where we are without the past. We have some differences. We're going to go in and talk about those differences, hopefully work them out. That's what you do. You don't try to have the argument in front of the press corps that's sitting there waiting to amplify one side or the other based on their biases. And please don't tell me they're not biased. And Trump is not the guy to be fucking around with. I mean, I hate to tell you that. He's not. And then Trump got pissed off. And then Trump effectively said, get the fuck out of here. We're not doing this anymore. Now, what's sad to me is the mineral rights deal was not signed, was not agreed to.
Yeah, it sets us back.
It sets us back. The relation between the United States and Ukraine is probably in trouble. Ukraine itself is now in division if their government there, while he's gone, is calling for impeachment proceedings to be held against Zelensky, who I'd like to remind everybody, even though their constitution has this provision in it, says that they can't have elections during a time of war. Let's be fair. There has been manipulations in that government that have caused people concern. Zelensky has been shutting down churches that spew any or that have any viewpoint other than pro-Zelensky opinions. So everything's not perfect in Ukraine. I feel bad for the Ukrainian people because I think we're at a point here where there was a path, at least I get the opinion that I felt like there was a path that was going to lead to peace. It wasn't perfect, but to think that Ukraine is going to come out on top of this and bleed Russia of troops and material, and somehow Russia was going to go back to its original borders and everything was going to be hunky-dory, that's a misperception that I don't think anyone actually believes is real. But you go look on social media now. Everyone's saying, oh, the left, Trump is doing this because he's Putin's puppet, blah, 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 blah.
No, he got disrespected in his own goddamn house.
And I think that a lot of Americans are going to, just regular Americans. I'm not talking about never Trumpers and I hate Trump and orange, they call him orange. He's our orange Jesus and all this other garbage. I think that let's reverse the roles. Biden's in the White House. This happens. I would be defending Joe Biden today for standing up for the United States of America. Yes, if Biden had treated any leader the way Trump treated Zelensky today, because you do not come to the United States after all the United States has done for you. And Dan,
but Joe Biden doesn't have the capacity to engage in the
conversation. He's that aside. I know that, but I mean
hypothetically,
and I'm saying, or let's say Obama, or pick any other Democrat. But I'm saying, you do not come to the Oval Office in front of the press and disrespect not only the president, the office of the president and the vice president. And I'll say this, thank God JD Vance is the vice president from Ohio, because I will tell you, with all due respect to Mr. Pence, I will tell you that Mr. Pence would have sat there and not said a damn word while all this went on. And JD Vance did say, with respect, but he had to point out that he's not correct. And that's, you know what? I like that about JD Vance. JD Vance is not a do-nothing vice president. The guy speaks well. And for Putin, for Zelensky to say, well, have you been there?
It's about to be
the stories of conscription in the Ukrainian army are very, very well known and widespread. They're running out of people left and right. I mean, and that's why this war needs to end. I just think I'm sad that we took a step. I really am. I'm sad that today that process seems to have taken a step back, but let's place blame where blame is due. And today's events, today's setback is clearly, in my personal opinion, and I think in a lot of Americans' opinion, this is Zelensky's fault. He came there with a chip on his shoulder, a shitty attitude, and he got booted out the door. And by the way, they gave whatever food they had for him for lunch, they gave to the staff of the White House. So there you go.
There you go. That's a good thing. I think it's pretty clear that Zelensky doesn't care how many Ukrainians perish in this war. I don't think Putin cares either. So the young men and probably a lot of older men who are dying in this war, the two leaders who are sending them there to their graves. Neither one of them is losing a wink of sleep over any of this stuff. I think it's pretty obvious that Trump, the one thing that Trump wants above everything else, and it's true in the Middle East, and it's true in Ukraine, is that he wants these wars to stop. He wants the war, and if nothing else happens, if those wars stop, and the shooting stops, and the killing stops, and all the rest of that. That is going to be. I think Trump could actually live with that, but he wants to cut a deal. Trump is of the mind that prosperity is better than war, and if Zelensky was smart, I mean, yeah, he was able. I mean, how many millions out of the billions that we've sent over there was he able to grift for himself? How many billions? Out of that were the people who were the closest to him. How much were they able to peel off for themselves?
It's funny you mentioned that, Dan, because based on his actions today, there are already calls from the United States Congress for Elon Musk and the Doge team to start delving into the billions of dollars that we sent to Ukraine.
But here's the thing: if he signs this deal that for the rare earth minerals. Yeah. It's not as if Ukraine gets cut out of the equation of the profits.
No.
I mean, there will be far more money available for him to grift and steal and misappropriate than if they get this kind of robust activity going on. I mean, think about it. I don't know what kind of manufacturing base Ukraine has, but think about all the equipment we'd have to ship over there, all the infrastructure that needs to be built. All the economic activity that's going to happen, all the people that are going to work. You got to, I don't know what it takes to get rare earth minerals out of the ground, but I would imagine it's a hell of an undertaking.
Chinese slave labor.
I mean, I don't know about that, but I mean, there's going to be very good, high paying jobs. I mean, the economic activity is probably going to be unlike anything they've ever seen, and that's the kind of scale that Trump was talking about. So there's so much more money and so much more. Economic activity that's available by signing this deal, and instead of coming here, how can you even entertain the idea that I'm going to go into the White House on Trump's territory and run roughshod over him? That I'm going to go in there and bulldoze him.
Because he had been able to be doing that for the last 3 years. And
the richest guy in the world works for Trump and doesn't get paid.
Right.
And Elon Musk doesn't try to bowl over Trump because he knows that would not end well for him.
Well, the thing you were talking about the development and the mining and the mineral deals in Ukraine would also be twofold, because number one, Ukraine would make money. The corporations in the United States would make money.
Sure.
Okay, that's number one. Put that aside for a second. The development, all the infrastructure would benefit their country greatly. The investment there, yes, put that aside for a minute. What also would do is that if United States companies were firmly entrenched in Ukraine and had a very large presence in Ukraine, that would act as a buffer to keep Russia from wanting to come in, or being at least willing to come in and attack that, because the United States would then say you're attacking us in a way, without having them as a formal quote unquote NATO member. So that in of itself was another plus of this deal that sadly is now sitting there unsigned, because honestly, I think that, I place blame here. I do place blame firmly. Now, should you could always say, okay, then let's just let's play devil's advocate for a second. Zelensky comes in with a shitty attitude, acts the way he acted, and should they have just said, hey, let's take this inside and talk about it, and not have the blow up there in front of the cameras, in front of the world, in front of everybody? I don't know. I want people to, I kind of like, part of me does like the fact that we finally have a president that is standing up for our country first. That's my opinion.
And that's what I love. That's what I loved about the fact. Should that have happened? Yes, it probably should have. But the fact that it didn't, when Trump goes, this is why I let this go on as long as I did, because he's in control of that fucking room. So he could have shut it down whenever he wanted to.
Sure he could.
But he wanted the people to see that selfish motherfucker wanted to come in and say, well, you're not doing this for me. You're not the other regime. And then when he was like, that was Biden, that guy was dumb as hell. Now you're dealing with us.
You're dealing with the A team. You're dealing with
JV's out. JV's out. Varsy's back in. Sorry.
Can I ask you guys a question? What do you think? And this just kind of popped in my head.
Oh,
what would? Well, no. I take Vance out of it. Take Vance out of it. What would Kamala have said in that situation?
Here, can I get a Drake here? Hold on.
My God! I mean,
that's what would have happened.
We dodged such a bullet there.
No, I think they handled. I think Trump and Vance. I think they handled it very, very well. Zelensky's realizing, like, yeah, you tried, and as Dan said, run roughshod on us. That's not the way it's going to work. Like, there was good conversation. The way I understood it, leading up to this, this whole week as he's coming in.
Yeah.
It was good conversations that were had.
This meeting actually started off pretty good. I heard the first part as I was driving over here today. I heard the very opening parts of this meeting, and the first 2 or 3 or 4 minutes was perfectly fine. And then it started going off the rails.
See, the problem is Zelensky is not a good leader. He is just not a good leader because he can't hold his fucking cool. He wants more. He wants more. He wants more. He's that guy.
Yeah.
This is gonna be really, really shitty, and don't judge me for it. And Dan, you probably will, but whatever. Andrew definitely will, because Andrew hates me. But it's that guy that you pass by walking to work, sitting on the corner, that you throw a fucking dollar into his fucking box, and the next day you walk by and you throw a dollar. He's like, well, why isn't there two? You throw me a dollar yesterday. Why can't you throw me two today? Like, that's what I'm seeing out of this. And we have given you billions of dollars already. Now we're trying to fix it and trying to get you out of harm's way.
Get your hand out of our pocket. Get your hand out of our pocket. Save lives. Stabilize the world. I posted something today.
And you two are very well versed in politics, more so than I am. But I pay attention. We had a fucking escape plan for him, and where's that?
I don't know. Now where it's going to go. I mean, here's the problem, Jason. Not only is that deal done, I mean, honestly, based on what the reporting is, that they may want to try to open impeachment proceedings against him. A destabilized Ukraine collapsing into maybe some sort. Now I'm being, this is down the road, and who knows how he's going to deal with this. But, the last thing you want is now a fragmented Ukraine fighting a unified Russia. And also factor in, we have sent some fairly advanced. Now, I don't know, when they say that there's no U.S. And they may be gone now that Trump's in office, but we've sent some fairly advanced military hardware to Ukraine that only can be operated, or supposedly should only be operated by American personnel. A lot of that hardware contains, technical information and design. We don't want that falling into the wrong hands. So a destabilized Ukraine right now is actually, I think, probably the biggest danger that came out of today's meltdown by Zelensky, and the whole charade or the whole event that happened. So I'm concerned about that as well. Man, I just am shaking my head here. I'm so sickened by this thing and so pissed off. I set a post out today, one of several, as I was trying to deal with my emotions, and that's my vent. I said, how many Americans are sitting around watching this? How many Americans are going to go home tonight? Because a lot of people are still at work today, didn't hear about it, or get home and they'll watch it. And average Americans, like you said, Jason, that aren't political, right? That are just average Americans making a living. They're going to see the events of the White House, that debacle, and they're saying to themselves, "Who the fuck does this guy think he is?" I mean, seriously. And that's where we're at. And I'm sad. Hey, open another one. I'm sad. I'm not, I'm pleased we have a president that stands up for ourselves, but I am sad that the whole situation happened today. And I wish it had not occurred, but here we are. And gosh, I hope there's a way we can salvage. As you do, I hope there's a way to salvage this agreement and move forward, because Dan's exactly right. The positives outweigh the negatives to a large extent on this deal, and we can start to recoup our investment in Ukraine. American companies can prosper. Ukrainian people, more importantly, can prosper through the economic activity and the security provided by a large corporate U.S. presence in Ukraine.
Well, just to wrap up my thoughts on this whole thing for now is, as bad as that was, that whole thing with Trump and Zelensky there, if Zelensky comes back tonight and bends the knee, says, "Look, I was wrong. We need to get this deal done. Sorry about that." That whole episode, the way Trump works and the way he thinks, that'll be water under the bridge.
Yeah,
it'll be as if that whole thing never happened. They're moving on. They're going to get a deal done, and the future is going to be great.
It's like getting in a fight with your wife.
Yeah,
you're like, "Oh, well, I fucked up. I'm sorry. Let's go to dinner. Let's fix it. Let's figure it out and move on."
But the way the left media and John Bolton, right on time, was right there running to the cameras at MSNBC. Trump is wrong. Trump is wrong. Trump is wrong. And Trump doesn't understand our allies and doesn't understand our enemies. He's a danger. All this other crap. But how many times do you think Trump had meetings like that during the course of when he was doing business in New York City, of all places? How many times do you think he had fiery meetings like that where, the F-bomb was dropped and there was disagreements and all the rest of it? But you know what? At the end of the day, you get the deal done, because that's what's really important. And I think even given that, I think Trump would do that. But of course, the media is going to be out there talking about how out of control this guy is.
So for me to put a bow on it, and you kind of grab some of the things I was going to say. The left's going to make this Trump's fault. Going to make it Vance's fault. Vance shouldn't be the vice president. He's not qualified to do it. Trump shouldn't be there because he's a criminal. They're going to pull whatever they can. But if you watch that, Zelensky started that fucking bullshit. Vance jumped on it and started to, defend his boss, which I'll pull in, fire department shit. If somebody's talking shit to my captain, I'm going to fucking defend him, right? So, but he was speaking fucking fact.
I hope this isn't a dick pic he just sent us.
I hope it's not either.
No, check it out. Look at it.
You open it. I'm not opening it on my phone. You open it.
All right, let's see.
But the left's going to make it Trump's fault no matter what. Trump could literally shit gold bricks and give it to every person in America, and the left would be pissed off about it. So it doesn't.
Absolutely.
Matter.
You're exactly right. Trump can, just as you said, the man can do nothing right. And some of the comments from some of the people I got were on my post and my comments on some of the news. I like to go on the news sites, and
we've got 5 minutes left, so we're going to button this up. Finish your shit, because
what I'm saying is I like making comments on the news sites, and when you go on the news sites, it's filled with leftists, and they're trumpeting that Trump to us is the orange Jesus, and it just offends me, because they can't seem to take pride in a president that defends the United States first.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to get your guys' opinion, and we've got 5 minutes left ish.
Yeah, we never go over.
Well, I've got somewhere to be, so it's.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's all about you. Go ahead.
Well, you're right because I control all
You
this.
could
shit.
take me off the screen anytime.
No. So obviously this happened, so I knew this was going to overtake most of it, and I was excited about it. I'm like, damn, fuck that motherfucker. But so with the release of the phase 1 of the Epstein stuff,
for God's sake.
Oh, yeah.
so your guys' opinions, and in short form, but were you expecting anything less?
I have not been holding my breath on this Epstein stuff. I don't. I try not to get too wrapped up in it. I mean, how long have we been strung along on this? How long have we been promised that the truth is going to come out? We're going to see the files. We're going to see the video. Same thing with the Diddy stuff. Same thing with I mean, it goes all the way back to Kennedy and all the rest of it.
Now, supposedly today at 8 a.m. this morning,
that didn't happen though.
It was supposed to be there.
Well, as far as I know, it didn't. And if it did happen, it's getting buried by the Trump Zelensky thing. So,
well, we may not get it, but it was supposed to be at her office.
So my point is I'm glad that we got to see the letter that Pam Bondi sent to Kash Patel. She requested this information before Patel got in office.
That was a public service statement.
Patel came out and said, there's going to be, we're going to look into this. We're going to deal with it. This FBI office in New York appears to have gone rogue. They think that they somehow can determine what they send to their boss, the Attorney General of the United States. So this needs to be dealt with. I mean, this needs to be dealt with in a severe way. They cannot let this pass
and quickly
without heads rolling at that office because, Andrew, I think if they don't handle this the right way, it's going to set a very bad tone for the rest of the time that Pam Bondi and Kash Patel are in office. And Trump might have to move them out.
Can I
get somebody else in there?
Can I say this before you respond, Andrew? And I said this Wednesday with Eric on Fox News, the last call thing. Kash Patel hasn't even really moved anything into his fucking office yet. So you can't fucking blame him yet.
No. Not yet.
And you can't hang him. You can't hang him yet. You can't hang Bondi yet. You can hang Bondi in the fact with the Epstein shit in Florida where she passed it off to the fucking FBI. You can hang her there. But it's going to take time. But the fact of the way that they presented it, I think was bullshit where, hey, we're going to release this tomorrow. And then you give it to, and this was all talked about, and a lot of people in the chats already watched, the other shows that we're associated with binders and these fucking influencers that have these fucking binders out there. Instead of giving it to the actual fucking news and people that fucking matter, you get phase 1 that gave no new information. Now, do I think more is coming? Yes. But that letter that Bondi sent, though, I think is bullshit. That's not a letter and Eric said the same thing, and I agree wholeheartedly. That was a fucking public statement.
That was just PR, public relations.
That's exactly what it was. Now, it was a directive. It's a directive, and it's public. It's a directive to him. Now he's got a job to do now that he's in his office. So get there and figure it out.
Here's my take on it. I didn't like the fact that they made a big deal about it, and then they invited a select group of just social media influencers to the White House, exactly what Jason said, to release it to them first and then have them disseminate the information. I wish it would just give a binder to everybody. Why she didn't see the binder before it was given to them, that seems a little bit, she should have been the first one to see the binder and know what was going out for sure.
Why do you let them walk out there?
Right. And the other thing is, I agree with Dan. People at the FBI, and I don't mean Kash Patel. He hasn't even, the seat's not warm yet.
I don't blame him at all.
And Miss Bondi, with all due respect, I do like her, and I think she means well. I think she'll get the job done. I think what this highlights to me is just how deep and how pervasive the deep state, the bureaucracy is, and how much needs to be cleaned out, and how these lifelong bureaucrats somehow think that they are not only above the system, that they have no boss. They have no one that they answer to. They are their own entity, and they serve the very the entity that they get their paycheck from, not the Constitution, not the United States, and not the people of the United States. And they feel like they answer to nobody. So I agree with Dan. And I don't think Dan was saying that Bondi's head should roll or that Patel's head should roll, but heads should roll, and a clearing of the House should occur definitely at the FBI, most probably at Justice too. But the FBI seems to be, in my very humble opinion, just as a layman's observation, a organization out of control. And I think that there needs to be a house clearing from top to bottom. And I think that will occur. As far as the Epstein files go, if she documented, I think she said something like, she said that there's apparently over 250 criminal cases that could come from this. Then let's get those cases going. I mean, it's been long enough. You've
Absolutely.
had the information.
We can't protect these pedophiles any longer.
Absolutely.
That information needs to, and look, even if, and I had one of the guests on my shows today suggest that the information is so sickening and so disgusting, it may never be able to be revealed to the American people. And I said, you know what? I said, if that's true, then maybe that's true. Maybe, this information is of such a nature that it cannot be revealed. But then let's get some prosecutions going. Let's hold accountable the people that did these things and get it over with. I mean, if that turns out to be true, then maybe I can actually live with that if I know people are being held accountable.
Absolutely. And I mean, all that would lead me to believe is that the people that are going to be charged are so sensitive, meaning politically sensitive, or it would shake up the country, that they don't think that we as a country could handle Bill Clinton being charged with a crime. I think I could live with that. I don't care who it is. I don't even care. Let's be fair here. And I'm going to throw, I don't want to throw a name out there and then have somebody think I'm accusing them, but I have seen photographs of Bill Clinton with some very young females on or at the island or on the plane. But my point is, let's pick any Republican. If there's a well-known, powerful Republican that they have evidence or they think could be brought up on charges, I'm with Dan. Bring them up on charges. Justice is blind, and these victims need their day of justice. I mean, to think that any one person is above the law or too powerful to be prosecuted,
even if it's Andrew Pappas, do your damnedest.
For the victims, yes. I mean, for the victims, absolutely. But for the American people, show the wheels are turning. Don't feed us bullshit that we already knew. Like the stuff that they put out, that's already been out there. Now I know that they're waiting on, quote unquote, thousands of more documents. Okay. Well, then make sure that happens. She sent that letter / I'll call it a statement, but she sent that letter to Cash, and hopefully Cash gets his fucking house in order.
Oh, I think he will.
That's his house. And I think he will too.
I think he will.
But it's going to take time.
It's going to take time.
Don't preemptively say, "Oh, we're going to release the Epstein files."
That's it. I think American people have great patience on this issue, but when you go on a national show like the Jesse Waters show, like she did 2 nights ago, and said, "Hey, we're going to release information tomorrow," and man, it's coming out. Don't do that.
Yeah.
I'm wondering.
Don't tell us information is coming out, and then have to walk it back.
Right. Well, the nothing burger that, here's the information, breaking, here's the binders, and then we're going to give it to these influencers. And the influencers acted like it was a big deal, and they were happy to get it. Yeah, they're showing it, and then they get it, and they're like
fucking morons. Act like you've been at the fucking White House before, even though you may not have. Act like you've been there.
Well, wait a second. Now, I've been to the White House, and I think I acted the same way. I got to be honest with you. It's pretty cool.
Well,
I mean, when you're there, it's pretty cool.
That doesn't shock me coming from you.
Did you do an Al Roker at the White House?
No, but I did take a couple of the feet pick in different offices at the White House, so that was kind of cool.
All right, so we're gonna wind this down.
We're good for Monday.
I've got this funny, Dan, look at your Monday. I've already talked to Pappas.
Monday, I can do something on Monday.
All right, Monday, we'll be back Monday at 5. We're not done yet. we'll be done here in a second. But Monday,
Well, are we going to change the show? Are we going to change the little thing? Or where's our stand with Ukraine flag? I mean, you don't have a Ukrainian flag.
No, we don't roll like that.
yeah, we don't roll like that.
Okay,
We got
just-
Bob Ross back there. That's all we need.
Yeah,
Okay.
I've got Bob Ross. We're good. But I got this. I found this this Instagram, and it. Andrew, you go out on the lake quite often in your palatial boat that you
no.
have, and you're a seafaring man. I want your opinion on this, and Dan saw it right before, but you haven't seen this. But I saw this, and this scares the shit out of me. And I don't know that I want to go out on the open water ever again.
I don't know. What do you think?
How's that make you feel?
I mean, it looks like a pontoon boat. There's like 8 or 9 people on that thing.
We're gonna let it roll a couple times.
I had no idea their mouths were that big. That is a big damn mouth right there, swallowing them people up.
It's funny. That's how I feel with you every time you're drunk.
I don't know. It could be fake. It could be AI. That's all I'm saying.
Even if it is, holy shit. So Andrew, where do you stand with that? How would your boat fare with that one? Oh, he fucking
Did he
laughed.
lock up? He froze up?
He laughed or froze up or whatever.
All right.
All right. You want me?
All right.
You want me to show? We'll show this guy too. Real
All right.
quick, and then we'll head out.
Yeah, if you've noticed, it'd be right behind Jason's head. There's a print of Bob Ross, and I still, if I'm flipping around TV and a Bob Ross video is on, I'm watching it. I love to watch that dude paint, man. He's been dead for what, 10 years now? Or?
Happy Little Trees. There's a great documentary. His son
I saw
does.
it. I watched it.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah.
So everybody remembers Bob Ross that's around our ages. Some people, most people in this chat.
Yeah.
I'm
But I
pretty
saw
sure.
this on my X feed the other day. I had to send it.
Remember painting these clouds as a kid? Yeah, me neither. Who doesn't love a good chemtrail? I mean,
Happy little clouds.
that just makes your world.
Oh my God.
Everybody, thank you
Can't
so
end
much.
the show any better than that.
You can. I mean, it's Bob Ross, for fuck's sake.
Yeah. Bob Ross and Tommy Schroeder.
I don't know where
Two
Andrew
of the
went.
all-time greats right there.
I did not, for the record, everybody, I did not kick Andrew out. I did not do it. I promise you.
He's all right.
But yeah, he'll be fine. But Monday, we'll be back Monday, 5 p.m. Eastern. And we appreciate you guys always tuning in. Illegal Shift has moved to Fridays, and it'll be kind of an ever-flowing schedule, but I'll make sure I try to be better on my Instagram and stuff and pushing that out, and I think John will too. But we appreciate you guys, and make sure you pre-order Eric's book, Pig Latin, A Seriously Funny True Story of a Cop, however the title is. Pre-order it.
When's that come out?
Well, you have to pre-order it now. It comes out in August.
Okay.
But pre-order it. Definitely helps him. It definitely helps us. It helps all of us. But we love all of you, and we'll see you soon. Have a great weekend. Be safe.
That was fun.
And hopefully we see you all back in the chats on Monday. See ya.